Welcome back to another episode of Pencils and Stories. Today we're going to talk about pacing. Pacing is a very important part of comics, and I'm going to tell you the basics of pacing, how I believe it works in the most simple way, and some tips for how you can start thinking about pacing and how to make the decisions about that. Welcome back to Pencils and Stories. This is the channel for you to help you get started on your own comics, make and promote your own comics. And if that's something that you're interested in, and I invite you to subscribe to this YouTube channel. So when we're talking about pacing, picture a chronological timeline that is your story. And then pacing is basically within every scene, you're picking the moments you want to show. And you can decide if you want to show a lot of moments in a scene or only a few. And it all depends on a few things. Firstly, and most importantly, what are you trying to communicate? What emotions do you want to portray? And what emotions do you want your audience to feel? Also, what information do we need? Sometimes you want to withhold information from your audience to up the tension or to create a mystery. Sometimes you need to have some exposition and explain certain things to your audience, whether it is through a dialogue or something that's happening or through visual storytelling. So you need to actually show all that stuff on the screen, I wanted to say, but in your panels. If you're withholding information, you actually might want to speed up on the timeline. You want to show fewer moments. And sometimes you want to really slow down and show a lot of moments. Because what happens, the quicker you move over your timeline and the fewer moments you show, the quicker time goes for your audience, because we kind of keep up with that. And the same is true the other way around. If you pick a lot of moments, you can really drag out time and make one moment feel like an hour. And if that's the case for your character as well, you can really suck the audience into their emotion. So if you're conscious of what it is you are trying to convey to your audience, it can become easier to pick the right moments and to pick the amount of moments that you're going to show. Sometimes it's just a question you can ask yourself of, is this really necessary? Do I actually need to show this character walking through their door? If you just need to get your character home so that they can break down and cry, it might not be necessary to show the character arriving and then walking up to their door and walking into their house. You can just put them right in the house and have them maybe just have a little indication if they're just coming home, they're shutting the door behind them, and then they're breaking down and they're crying. And then the crying part, if it's significant to the story, you can actually make that a longer moment and show multiple panels of them crying, or maybe having a conversation with themselves, or crying and getting their composure back, or whatever. It all depends on your story. But if the character is usually very close down and they don't really show their emotions much, and it actually matters a significantly great deal that they're actually breaking down and crying, you might actually use them walking towards their door as a way to really build up tension and really make it a moment of them having complete composure, but really dragging out the moment when they get into the door and they can finally break down and cry. And then even inside, you can have them break down and crying. You can really drag that out as well and have that be multiple panels as well. But it really all depends if it's significant to your story and what kind of emotion do you want to convey. Is the character dreading to get home? Then the walk up to the garden path might actually become really significant, and you might make that an eternity. Or they want to get home so quickly they trip on stuff in the garden, and you can kind of have those kinds of moments. But again, it depends on what you want to say on that page and what you want your audience to feel and what you want your audience to know about what's going on inside the character. Another thing you might ask is what's going on in the character's head and how is time progressing for them? Is it progressing quickly or slowly? You can actually use that in your comic as well, to kind of have the audience get more into the head of the character. And then the more panels you give something, the more important it becomes and the more significant it is for your character. And when you portray a lot of moments right after each other, we get the feeling of time slowing down. This is sometimes used in action scenes because you can kind of almost create a slow motion effect this way. We have really defining moments that, you know, they're etched in the character's mind and they can feel really long, and you can make that same feeling for your audience. And likewise, the fewer panels you give something, the faster it goes by in the reader's mind, the faster time progresses in the reader's mind. You can even create a feeling of great amounts of time passing this way. You can see it sometimes in compilation scenes where it's like there's years progressing in the courses of one page or even a few pages. And of course, a good way to study this is to read a lot of comics, watch movies, and see how they handle time and how they handle choosing their moments and the amounts of moments in a single scene. Pay attention to the kinds of shot that artists use, but also pay attention to what they leave out. I hope this video is helpful for you in improving your pacing. This is one of the tips from my ebook, my quick comic tips that you get if you subscribe to my email list. If you want to get my ebook with the 10 tips, you can subscribe by going to pencilsandstories.com/extra. That was it for this video this week. I hope you found it helpful, and if you did, I would really appreciate it if you give it a like, give it a thumbs up, so I know to make more videos like these. And then I want to thank you so much for watching, and I want to encourage you to go out and make some comics.